Hello and welcome to another video review. This is Knights of Pen and Paper Plus One Edition for PC, Mac, Android, and iOS. This review is coming to you courtesy of Fusion Bunny. He sent me this, so thank you. It is greatly appreciated. This is a very interesting game by Behold Studios. It's sort of a simulation of role-playing games, actually, like tabletop role-playing games. It's a really weird thing that is just a cool concept, where you're basically playing a game about people playing a game. It's kind of weird, but anyway. It was first released on tablets and phones, and then later ported to the PC, and that's the version you're seeing here. It's Plus One Edition. And the question there is, was this something that really should have been ported over to the PC platform? Because if you think about it, tablet and phone games are generally fundamentally different from PC and console games. So did they make the transition well, and do things really work out for this game in the long run, or what? Well, as far as presentation goes, there's really not all that much to speak of. It is pixel art, and the sound is NES style sound effects and music. And that's pretty much all you need to know. The art itself is pretty well done. It's, again, pixel art, and it looks fine. It looks certainly retro, and there's a fair amount of detail in it, but there's hardly any animations in this game, and the interface itself ends up being painfully obviously designed for a touchscreen device. It works fine with a mouse, but there's nothing that really sets the PC version apart from the tablet and phone version, apart from just some of the things they threw in there to actually give you some more reason to actually get the game, like dungeons and such like that. Now, the sound itself, pretty well done. The music is certainly catchy and charming, and the entire art style does work for this game to make it rather charming, but the presentation itself is just not impressive, and while not bad, it just doesn't really do all that much for the game, except add some charm. But obviously what really matter are the story and the gameplay, and the story in this is that you're playing as a tabletop RPG group. Yeah, the entire group, including the GM. And the GM is telling a story within that involves your pretty typical fantasy RPG story, but at the same time, it's made rather silly. It's very self-aware, and there's a lot of references to a lot of things. Very nerdy game as a result. And it's pretty funny. The humor in this game is actually very solid. It's more of a subtle thing than you're used to in other games, but it's pretty funny. And the writing itself is pretty charming as a result. The problem there is that the story doesn't really have all that much to do with the game. And in fact, you find yourself not even giving a crap about the storyline itself. Why? Because of the gameplay, which consists almost entirely of fighting. Now, I have to mention first the character creation system, which is actually kind of interesting. You select a character who is going to be the player, and that is pretty much just stereotypes like the nerd or the jock. And each of them has their own specific bonuses to that particular character. For instance, the jock gets +1 to attack no matter what his character choice is, his class, I mean. The classes have 4 individual abilities to that class, as well as their own stats, and each of them are good at different things. Obviously, the mage is pretty self-explanatory, the warrior, so on and so forth. And over time, you can get up to 5 players. Now, you have to get an item that will increase your party limit to 5 as opposed to 3, like when you start the game. And when you're actually playing the game, again, most of what you're going to be doing is fighting, which is done through a turn-based system with initiative rolls and everything. So it plays out a bit like a D&D game, but at the same time, it's its own system. And it works okay. I didn't really notice anything that was horribly unbalanced, but there was something about the gameplay that really did tie into the fact that this is a mobile game at heart. And that is that almost everything in this game costs gold. Now, how do you get gold? Well, obviously you fight things, and you get gold for completing quests and such like that. The quests are pretty much just, what do you want to do at this particular point? Well, here's the things you can do at this particular point. Select a quest. Okay, the quest has started, and mostly it just involves going to some location, fighting, going back, turning in the quest. Oh look, you've got stuff now. And different quests are going to give you different rewards. For instance, Slay quests will give you 50% bonus of experience, while other quests might give you items and others might give you equipment. Now, you can also upgrade your character through the blacksmith. Now, you have to unlock various upgrades in the blacksmith by leveling up the blacksmith themselves. How do you do that? You get grindstones. How do you get grindstones? Well, you can either find them in dungeons, or you can buy them at shops. Are you sensing a pattern here yet? Yes, almost everything in this game costs gold. Again, you get gold through fighting and completing quests. What does the game end up being as a result? Endless grinding. That is what this game is. It is nothing but grinding. Grinding to get gold so you can buy things, which will enhance your party. Whether you get things through the shop that gives you stuff for the actual room you're playing in, which some of the stuff is actually kind of amusing in there, and it gives you bonuses to your entire party as opposed to just individual characters and such like that. You get gold so you can buy upgrades for your characters, and buy items for your characters, and buy equipment for your characters. And so you can travel to places. Endless grinding. And what do they do to facilitate this better? Well, of course they have microtransactions. You can buy gold with real money. This is a very, very mobile game thing. They have to be monetized somehow. And this game does it in the manner of, oh, you can play the game if you want, or you can buy gold and just bypass all this other stuff. I'm sorry, folks, but that's my main problem with the game. The game itself isn't too bad if you like very, very grindy games. But, again, it's really grindy, and it really does encourage you to buy gold in order to get more stuff. And there's really no substance to the game apart from this. You just get gold to improve things, and it just goes on and on and on. And so, what ends up happening here is, you have a game that's a pretty decent time waster. If you're, say, waiting on a flight or something like that, and you just have a few minutes, well, you can whip this game out on your phone and just play it for a bit, and oh look, now that your waiting is done. If you're like me and you're playing it on PC, however, you're going to run into problems with that, because you want a more sit-down experience. You want something that is not blatantly designed for phones and tablets. And this game is blatantly designed for phones and tablets. It's a time waster. And they didn't do anything to fix that on PC. They still have that monetization model that encourages you to just buy gold with real money. And frankly, that is despicable. They're already charging $10 for this game just to get it in the first place, and then they want to charge us money for gold on top of that? It's kinda like, say, Dead Space 3, but at least with this one, it was a mobile game to begin with, and they just ported it over to PC. That said, I'm reviewing it as a PC game. And what's the problem with that? Well, it's not a PC game. Even worse than that, as a PC game, it's very mediocre. So ultimately, I have to give this a 2 out of 5. Thanks for watching.